Hello guys and welcome to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today we will be discussing the Manchester City game, and you know what? It was maybe not the best game from Real Madrid and we didn't play our best attacking game, but you know what? It's a classic because it shows everything about Real Madrid in European competition, and it was one of the best games for us this season, in terms of just getting the job done, because that's what we did. Went out there with the game plan, and even in the adversity of the game plan where everything didn't exactly go our way, we went and took the win, and that's all that mattered in the end. We see a lot of people after the game, Rodri, Jamie Carragher, all these guys were coming after the game saying, well, we only saw one team out there, this is not the best team in the world. To be frank, I couldn't care less, because there's many ways you can win a game of football, and if they were just expecting us to put a high line in there so that Man City can have space, well, they're pretty stupid for thinking that. So I was just more than delighted with that result. And going into this game, many people didn't have confidence in Real Madrid. I thought that was quite stupid, because this is Real Madrid, and it was a locked in result. Maybe we wouldn't have been favourites, and I agreed with that. We were definitely not favourites for this game. We were, the chances had lowered, especially after the home leg, but there was always going to be a chance, and the odds were against us. We had never beaten City at the Etihad. Well, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. So, what are your thoughts on the result as a whole for us?
Yeah, but let me just start by saying that the team that scores the most goals is normally the team that deserves to win, unless there is some evidence of cheating or some evidence of faking or something like that. So for me, no matter what, as much as maybe a team might be better in possession, or a team might have most of the ball or have more shots, the bottom line is that they didn't score, and I think that's a simple situation that a lot of people is stating, because the truth is we scored the same amount of goals as Manchester City and won on penalties by 4 goals to 3. And of course it was really uncomfortable to have a look at as a Madrid fan, not just because you're disappointed in the average, because I'm sure that most fans were aware that the most Madrid could have done was sit back. It's been difficult to keep up, with the pace of the game and everything else like that, when you're not at 100%. So it was a game with a lot of intensity, and Madrid had to use a lot of force to finish this game. The defensive structure was much better than last year. I love how we closed down spaces faster. We cut off the half spaces, so we so fast and better to mark our opponents. We learn from our mistakes, but the one thing that we have to, of course, get better at is, of course, keeping the ball better and building attacks out of possession, especially when we are short staff. Of course, one other thing is that we also have to learn to just be better in build-up, be a better pressing team. And it's not because we want the team to be like Manchester City or Liverpool, but we just have to take steps forward regardless. And if Ancelotti is here for this is the final of his third year, if he's here for that now, then of course you expect him to take steps forward. And I think he actually kind of did yesterday after this time.
Yeah, and I think what we have to say is the game plan going into this game was sit back, counter when you get the opportunity. Don't give City any space near the box, and defensively we certainly executed the plan. We Ancelotti, I think this awareness that you're not going to be as good as City in possession, it's only going to benefit you, because as much as I think this team can definitely play better in possession, and I think they can definitely dominate the ball, I don't think they can play as good as City. And so in that way, in that form, I think we should be looking to play this way against Manchester City. And I think this idea that we have to bring City down to our level is probably going to benefit us more than trying to rise to their level. So I was more than happy with how we were going into the game. With the game plan of counter attacking, as long as we executed it properly. And in the first 20 minutes or so, we did perfectly well. City had a few attacks. They especially with the De Bruyne overlapping on the right, and he whipped in a few crosses which was dealt with fine. So that was all good, but the first thing we did was the first time we got out properly. Bellingham took it down with a fantastic touch. It was a genuinely silky, elegant touch. You would see that from you would 100% see that from Zinedine Zidane. Played it to Fede, who was making the run down the right. Plays a lovely ball to Vinny, and then Vinny puts in the cross. Kyle Walker lost his man in Rodrygo, and then Rodrygo hits it into Edison. Gets the rebound and scores the goal. And so, it was a really, really well worked goal. I would love to. I think it was just a really well worked goal, and that's what you needed from the counter attacks. That's the type of counter attacks we've seen from Real Madrid in the past. But I would like to say there wasn't enough of that. I think the outlet to Bellingham, a lot of the time, the ball out to Bellingham wasn't great. So Bellingham couldn't take it down. Every time he did get the ball, he took it down well, but the runners weren't there. We really weren't making enough runs throughout the game. But the one chance that we did get, we took, and I was really, really, really happy about that. So what are your thoughts on the first 20 minutes as a whole?
Yeah, of course, the first 20 minutes was, of course, more encouraging than the rest of the game, of course, because we were leading within the first 20 minutes and we maybe had to get a goal. And that's what Ancelotti basically said. We had to hit them on the counter, set a bit deep, hit them on the counter and get the goal. And then, of course, keep tight defensively afterwards. That's what Ancelotti said. And I think that's just my thoughts, because that's exactly what happened. We were a bit more open in the first 20 minutes than for the second half. For the second half, it looked really difficult in terms of building possession or any sort of possession. We had lost it. We weren't able to even build our attacks efficiently because Manchester City, they are back there. There's a lot of athletes like Kyle Walker, so it's difficult to even build attacks. So I think in my opinion, I think the first 20, even the first, up until the goal, I think I was happy with what we did with the goal. But following that, we conceded possession. I mean, we could have conceded more than one goal. But I'm happy that we were able to, just get the win at the end.
Yeah, and continuing with this theme, I mean, second half, like you mentioned, it was tragic. Us trying to play out from the back, it was tragic. We couldn't get it out, and it was attack versus defense. Second half, we could just not get out whatsoever. I'm gonna say it's in isolation. I don't think it's gonna be that much of a problem going into the Bayern game, for example, because this Man City team is by far and away the best team in Europe, and I think their style of play, the way that they play, is by far and away the best in Europe. So I wouldn't have too many problems with it, because I think it is a one-off thing. But it was not convincing. It was a really poor showing from the midfield, and the attack just not getting enough, not making themselves options enough. And I think normally this isn't a problem for us. We obviously are really good in possession in La Liga against teams who aren't going to press as heavily as Man City, but Man City completely just took the sting out of our build-up second half, and it was like, I don't think we had a solid chance second half. There was maybe the Bellingham one where it was lifted over and he just couldn't dribble it in, and it was stopped by City. But everything that we did in terms of the build-up, in terms of all that, it was really neutralised by City. So are you worried about it, or is it just it's just a one-off situation?
Like I said, Manchester City, you can say they're the most organised team in the world in terms of tactics and overloads and, of course, interchanges and stuff like that. So it was really difficult for us. And we still got through. That doesn't mean I'm underestimating my meaning, but it was quite clear and evident why they had most of the ball, why they made it difficult for us. So I wouldn't say it's a one-off thing, but I think if there's one team in the world who can of course do that is Manchester City at this time, because I think this game, if you look at it, it kind of reminded me of Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. I'm not too sure how many remember that, but a lot of times when we score early goal, it was really difficult to keep them out regardless, but because they were so organized that they had the ball a lot and they had the weapons to keep the ball and of course beat you in transition. So of course, I understood the tactic, and of course, it's not much we could have done about it. I think we would be a bit more confident against Bayern Munich. I'm not saying that the performance was encouraging. The defense was encouraging to a large extent, but that doesn't mean that we were perfect and you wouldn't want to take steps forward, because if we play Manchester City again next year, I would expect that we would be better in possession and better in building the ball, because I should at least say another year. So that's just it. It's not much you can look into future games, because, for example, Madrid will sometimes struggle in one game, then the next game do really well, and vice versa. That matter can keep going. So I'm not too overly concerned about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough about the negatives. I think we've got to move on to the positives now. Because defensively we were absolutely fantastic. It was like a performance from Atletico Madrid, which, I don't want to praise Atletico Madrid too much here, but it was really, really good, really, really solid. And I think, we gave up some chances, but there weren't too many of those. I would say City had two other chances other than the goal to properly score, which was the Haaland where he hit the crossbar, and then that De Bruyne chance near the end of the game where he just skies it. So, two real chances that we gave up apart from the goal, and I think apart from that we were really, really airtight. Nacho, talk about some individual performances now as well. I think Nacho was terrific. Haaland tried to switch on to him rather than Rudiger to get a favourable matchup, but Nacho held his own, and it looked at points like Nacho was tossing Haaland around. Haaland really didn't have the control of that matchup, and Nacho looked like the guy who just completely bossed Haaland around. And whenever Rudiger had the job of marking Haaland, he made sure that he didn't have any problems, and Haaland couldn't do anything really. And then Militao, I think it was really, really positive from Militao. First game back, proper game. He's obviously been given some garbage time minutes, but this was his first proper game back, and he was excellent. He won all of his headers. Now, obviously, intensity-wise, it's not going to be the same matchup, because he's just being asked to clear the ball every time it comes into him. But he was terrific. Every time the ball came into him, he headed it away, he cleared it. He was fantastic in that way. And then the fullbacks, I've got to talk about the fullbacks, because Dani Carvajal completely locked up Grealish. He did get the yellow card in the first half, and then when Doku came on, you thought, I immediately thought, oh, Dani Carvajal, tired legs, yellow card, it's not looking good. But Dani Carvajal largely kept Doku quiet as well. The goal came from Doku as well, but that was from when Fede was defending him rather than Dani Carvajal, unfortunately. So that was something. But Dani Carvajal largely was fantastic, and I had to come off because he looked a bit injured. But I think he was absolutely fantastic. And then on the other side, Ferland Mendy was terrific himself. Phil Foden, everyone talking about Phil Foden coming into this game. We heard nothing about Phil Foden in the game, and Bernardo Silva didn't really do much as well whenever he switched onto the right, and Ferland Mendy just kept everyone quiet on that side as well. Every time the ball came into him, he made sure that there was no problems, and a lot of times he was the outlet as well. He kept us in possession and kept some part of the ball, but largely he didn't do anything. I mean, we'll talk about Lunin later, but what are your thoughts on the defensive solidity that we showed in this game?
Yeah, okay, so I need to, and there were some issues there, so I need to add quickly that with Carvajal and Mendy, I think it was a bit difficult, to have both of them, especially in attacking sequences, but defensively, I don't think I can find a better pair of defensive fullbacks for a game like this, if I'm being honest. I think Mendy, I would admit that I was wrong about Mendy. I wanted them sold as soon as possible so that we can accommodate Fran Garcia and Miguel Gutierrez. But if I'm being honest, I think we need them in games like these, even for next season. So, I think Ancelotti is correct. He doesn't trust him so much, and want him in the squad as much as possible, and keep starting him. Of course, at the start of the season, I wanted the starting left back to be Fran Garcia, but of course, it's clear and understandable now why Mendy is the starter. I think the same goes for centre backs with Rodrygo. I think that he's our best centre back. He's also the best centre back in the world this season, and it was really good to see Nacho put in an encouraging performance like that. And if this is his last season, then hopefully he can end the season on a high. Compared to how we started the season and how we went through the entire season. Overall, defensively, the midfield also put in a lot of work as well to ensure that the defense the defense will have one-on-ones as much as possible and not two-on-ones. Ensure that they were outnumbered to close off long shots, like I said, and of course, just close off any passes. Close off any open half spaces. I think it was encouraging, and I think defending like that for 45 minutes and another 30 minutes in extra time. I think that's really good. That's really good discipline and composure for me.
Yeah, I agreed with you. I thought Ferland Mendy should have been sold at the start of the season. I was more concerned about the injuries because last year, if you remember, he played practically no games. He missed so much of the season, and we had to play Camavinga, we had to play Nacho there, and it was just really annoying to have him miss so many games last season. I thought we needed some more reliable fullbacks, but this season Fran Garcia came in and he's kept his spot. He reclaimed his spot pretty early in the season, and he hasn't really let go since. And I think, to be totally honest, Ferland Mendy at this point is unsellable because he's showing his fitness again, and he's just been so imperious defensively. We've always known this. He's been fantastic defensively. He's always been a bit of a problem offensively because he's never helped Vinicius on the left wing. But when he's playing like this defensively and no player can get past him, it just feels like you can't really sell him at this point. And I just think Ferland Mendy at this point is unsellable, and so you start to doubt whether Fran Garcia has a future at this club, especially with the Alphonso Davies rumours. But right now, it's certainly not going to be Ferland Mendy. That's the one that's going to be sold. And in terms of the Nacho thing, Nacho's obviously this is going to be his last season most likely. And it hasn't been the best of seasons for him so far. It's been rather poor from him, but if he continues this form, especially with the fact that his form hasn't really resulted in us losing games that much, but losing the league, it hasn't resulted in that. So overall, I'm fine with Nacho this season. I think if it had led to us losing more games than we have, then fine, I'd be really annoyed. But if we continue this, Nacho's obviously going to play his last few games for the club, potentially alongside Modric. If the last game he plays for us is the Champions League final, then I hope we down win it, because that'll be some send off, Champions League final victory, Champions League final lift for us for Nacho. So that would be great. Let's talk about Fede and Camavinga, because I thought these two were excellent as well. I thought Fede was the only guy that we really used as the outlet for us, alongside Bellingham. I thought these two were really good outlets, and I thought for Fede, he doubled up excellent. You did really well with Dani Carvajal, especially when Carvajal got the yellow. You just saw immediately that Fede went back to the right back position more, and he was the one-on-one matchup for Grealish a lot of the times. And so you saw that so much. He was working so hard from minute 0 to minute 90. He was the guy who I won't say complained, but he made the statement about the players being too tired last week. But he's clearly not the one that's getting tired, because he's unstoppable. He's played practically every game this season, and he's just continued on. So he was great. Camavinga coming in the DM position was fantastic. He was truly terrific in this game, and I thought, defensively he made all the right reads and just did all the right things, nipping in here and win the ball back here, and just releasing a bit of pressure with the free kick here, bursting forward when he needed to. I thought for Camavinga was great, and I thought Jude Bellingham, like I said many times already, the outlet, just his first touch was sublime. Maybe he didn't make the impact on the offensive end, but I tell you what, he talked about making sacrifices at the end. He was one of the guys who made the sacrifices. He got back on defense and helped us in that way, and he was the guy who led the press. So, Jude Bellingham sacrificed his play style, his energy for the team, and I thought it was a truly humble performance from all the guys in this game. So, what are your thoughts on those three?
Yeah, of course. I think you covered basically everything on those three players. I'm just gonna touch on two other players, and that's Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, because I think they showed how important they are, regardless. I don't think there is any player in the world at not just Modric's age, but not many players in general can come on and have the game that Modric did in those difficult situations. So it's clear that even when you have a starting 11, Modric is still normally the first player you can look to off the bench and make an impact. He's still one of the midfielders in the world with a lot of quality. And of course, if a young 18-year-old comes on and plays like Modric was having the season and the minutes that Modric is having, he'll be labeled as one of the 50 best midfielders in the world, and he'll be being compared to Pedri and Gavi and Bellingham and Musiala and all these other young guys in midfield. So I think keeping Modric next season, for me, I would like him to stay. And also, as you can see, importance of Toni Kroos as well. Defensively, out of possession, he was really good, just like Camavinga and Valverde, and in possession as well in difficult situations. So I think that's something that the board must look at when making decisions. So hopefully we can maintain this amazing team with Camavinga and Valverde, these short starters, Chouameni as well, who is really good from defensive midfield. We have so many talented players, so it's just to utilize them efficiently, in my opinion. And of course, I'm looking forward to see what Ancelotti does and how he gives minutes to not just the backline, because most of the time the backline picks themselves this season. Not just the backline, but of course the midfield.
Yeah, and I thought, like you said, I thought Kroos and Modric's defensive performance in particular was great. I thought both of them, it's testament to them, because at age 32 and 38, you'd expect them to be, kind of coasting a little bit without possession. But, they work harder than they did when they were younger, which is crazy. If you think about Toni Kroos when he was, let's say, 28 in the 3-pit era, I don't think he was going to be running as much as he is now. I think this Toni Kroos is working a lot harder in defenses than he's ever been. I think he's just become more unselfish and than he even was before, and I think he's working even harder. And then when Luka Modric came on, he provided that burst of energy, and he obviously missed the pen, which I was really, really sad about, and gladly no one remembers it, because we went on to win the penalty shootout. But apart from that, Luka Modric was fantastic. He came on, provided that burst of energy, and obviously did everything that Kroos did, and just replaced Kroos with perfection. And like you said, I would love to see Luka Modric continue. I don't want this to be the last time Luka Modric plays for Real Madrid, but I'm glad that we're going to continue this run and make sure that we give it our best shot to make this last Champions League run a memorable one for Luka Modric. So yeah, that was great from Luka. Then, let's talk about Brahim Diaz, because I thought Brahim Diaz was really impactful off the bench. because when the time he came on, I thought the attack had gone really dry, and I thought Man City continued pressing on because they didn't really have to focus on our attack that much. I thought Vinicius and Rodrygo by that point were growing a bit stale, and I thought so we needed to bring on Brahim Diaz. And while Brahim Diaz didn't exactly he didn't get any output in this game, but I thought he gave Man City food for thought, and I thought when Brahim Diaz came on, I thought Man City's, where it looked relentless, their relentless waves of attack, I thought when Brahim Diaz came on, it slowed down. They had to commit more defenders to Brahim Diaz, and I thought Brahim Diaz released quite a lot of pressure on us. So I thought he was great against his former team as well. It must be mentioned. He obviously we bought him from Manchester City. So yeah, I thought Brahim Diaz was great, and I thought Vinny and Rodrygo. Vinny I thought was. I will say I thought he was quite lazy at points. Not coming back on defense, or at least for to become the outlet. I thought he was lingering offside too much. But Rodrygo, obviously big game. Rodrygo scores against Man City again. He loves playing against Man City, and I think a lot of he proved a lot of doubters wrong, because everyone was talking about Rodrygo. This is going to be his last season. Mbappe is going to completely take his spot. I wouldn't be so certain about that, because we've watched this guy for. I said this a couple of weeks ago. We watched this guy when he scored a hat trick against Galatasaray. In his first Champions League game, and we're here now. I'm not going to give up on him just yet. So he's obviously showing that he's a valuable player for us, and if anyone needed reminding, I think these two Champions League games have showed that, because he can come up with a moment of magic when we need it most, and it's his goal that gets us to penalties. So yeah, what are your thoughts on those three attackers?
Yeah, of course, Diaz has been one of the biggest game changers that we have had this season. The substitutions were the best possible substitutions for the game. I just believe that we waited a bit long. We didn't make the first substitution. Madrid didn't come on until City scored, and Diaz didn't come on till with less than 10 minutes ago. So of course, they would have had the time to make an impact. We conceded on the goal. But regardless, I think the substitutions was the perfect players. It just came a bit too late, because it was clear that we were lacking a lot of control and we needed more players. Just to at least keep the ball and have some more energy. Of course, and just counter better in transitions. I think that's what Diaz did. He won a lot of fouls, and of course he was the one who played that wonderful ball in for Antonio Rudiger to nearly win it late at the end first. But regardless, I think Ancelotti that's one of the concerns for tonight. The fact that we waited so long to make substitutions. I think that's something that Ancelotti should have learned from, because you never know. Even though you're winning, you still want to maintain control and make substitutions regardless. But of course, we can't really complain too much about it. But we just have to, be thankful that the players that came on were really good. Even Lucas Vazquez when he played high up the pitch as well. So that's something really positive.
Yeah, I thought Lucas Vazquez was really great when he came on. And let's go on to the penalty shootout. I think it's a natural place to start. First penalty, Julian Alvarez. It's an Argentinian. I wouldn't expect him to miss. Then Luka Modric went up and took one, missed, which I was really nervous at that point. But thankfully, Bernardo Silva made some stupid decisions. Went straight down the middle. Linen just stuck down the middle and just palmed it, and it looked like catching practice for him. Then Jude Bellingham stepped up and scored like he normally does. Composure in the big moments from Jude. Then Mateo Kovacic, Rudiger pointed out that he's going to go to Lunin's right, his left, and he did. And Lunin made a great save, and that was that we took the lead there. We're going to take the lead with Lucas Vazquez's penalty. He was doing some keepy ups, just like he normally does, with the finger, for the ball on the finger spin. He goes and does some keepy ups, then dispatches the penalty pretty easily, and all's well. Foden then goes and takes his really good penalty from Phil Foden, and then we go ahead and Nacho takes one. Nacho goes and slots it away nicely, calm, and cooler and under pressure. And then Ederson, a bit of mind games, I think, from Manchester City, but I think Ederson probably took the best penalty for Manchester City, puts it right in the corner where Lunin just can't reach it. It was a fantastic penalty. I've got to give it to Ederson. It was a really good penalty. But Rudiger comes up, takes the last one, and dispatches it. Fantastic from Antonio Rudiger. I mean, just before we talk about Lunin, Lucas Vazquez, we've got to give him his flowers. I think he was fantastic when he came on, provided the energy, was solid, did his keepy ups, scored his pen, and I think if I'm being totally honest, I think that new contract has to be in the works right now, because you talk about a guy who's being in the dressing room and his impact is much larger than what he brings on the pitch. I think his performances this season have been the best performances since that Zidane season where he just turned into Cafu for many games. I think he's been excellent this season. So for most of this season, I think that contract has to be in the works, because he's a real leader in the dressing room, and you don't get many of those so easily. So I think for me, I've got to give him a new contract, give him another year extension. He deserves it, and I'm not sure what Rodri is in the captaincy. I would believe that he is near the top, because obviously I think Nacho, then Luka Modric. I think it might be him after that. So it would be nice to see him get the captain's armband. So definitely a guy who deserves it. So, or maybe it's Danny Carvajal actually as well. But
the captains would be Modric, Carvajal, Toni Kroos, Lucas, and Valverde.
Okay, so yeah, he's still got a little bit to go, but it would be nice to see him get a captain's armband for a few games. So that new contract, it should be in the works. What are your thoughts on Lucas Vazquez?
Yeah, of course. When the news comes out yesterday that Nacho likely to leave, I think you can't lose Lucas and Nacho in the same season. It's so important Lucas is in the penalty shootout when you see motivating his players. He's so calm. He's an example. He's a leader of what a professional should be. Fit, works hard, gives 100%. That's the important thing. That's an example of a hardworking and disciplined footballer, because Nacho, if I'm being honest, Lucas, if I'm being honest, he was a winger that had quality, but he's a winger who I would say is not the
He wasn't flashy. He wasn't a flashy winger.
Yeah, he was that, but he wasn't that skillful regardless. But he worked so hard, and even when he played, he still managed to contribute. And there were moments when he was trusted as a starter on the way, a lot of times. And now, he's coming on over plenty of some of the best young talent in the world, like Arda Güler. He is trusted a lot over horizontal, to play in the attacking positions. So for me, he's an example of a footballer, of what a footballer should be. If you'd have asked me in 2018, when I think that's when some of the fans maybe were starting to turn on him a bit. They were wondering why was he still starting. And, if you asked me in 2018 and in 2024, he is still unimportant too. I wouldn't believe it, because these type of players normally their time will come to an end and they'll normally be replaced. But with him, there's something special about Lucas and Madrid, in my opinion. And of course, hopefully, he gets another one-year contract. Because, like I said, to lose him and Nacho in the same season, I wouldn't really be too fond of that one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Vazquez is an example of the footballer I respect the most, to be totally honest, because there's that sense of, well, I'm not the best footballer at this club, I realise that, but I'm still going to do whatever it takes to make a success at this club. This club in particular is the key word. I think Sergio Roberto is a perfect example at Barcelona as well. I respect Sergio Roberto even if he's not the most quality player. Same with Lucas Vazquez. Same with all these guys who maybe don't have they don't have the feeling that they had the divine right to go and start at a club. I think Lucas Vazquez, he can go to, let's say, Juventus, and he could start right now. I think he could be a starter for lots of clubs around Europe. But that idea that he wants to be an important role player for Real Madrid and nothing over that, nothing matters more than that. I think it's so fantastic to see, and I think that loyalty to have to one club, despite having the ability to probably go play somewhere else and play quality minutes somewhere else. I think that's what sets these players apart, and I respect these guys more than a lot of guys in around Europe. So I think Lucas Vasquez new contract should be in the offing for one more year extension minimum. And then we'll see where it goes next year. So yeah, I'm happy with Lucas Vasquez, but we've got to talk about the main man, my man of the match, the guy who really took the headlines. Andrew Lunin was terrific once again, and we've come to expect this from him this season, but it was just a terrific performance from him. He kept Man City at bay for most of the game, made some terrific saves off corners, off just pot shots from De Bruyne. All these chances that came his way, he made sure that he stayed out. The one goal was unfortunate. He couldn't really do much about it. It was right in the roof of the net, and if you give De Bruyne that much space, most of the time he's going to score. And from the penalty spot, made the bold decision to stay central for Bernardo's penalty, which Kepa told him apparently, and I'm happy about Kepa because I think even if you're not starting, you don't have to be bitter about that, and I think I'm happy to see Kepa is helping in that way. Kepa, I people have got there's some sort of animosity to Kepa. I don't understand that. He obviously loves Real Madrid and he's trying to give Real Madrid his best. So I've got no problems with Kepa. I like him. I think he's fine, and I think Lunin just made that brilliant save off of Mateo Kovacic's penalty as well, and so it was just terrific from Andrew Lunin. There's been reports that Courtois is back in training, but you can't do it to Lunin. This is his season, and I've reiterated this so many times. But this is his season, and I think if that Man City game isn't anything to go by, I think you've just got to let him continue and play this season out, because it would be so cruel to take it off of him at this point. So, what are your thoughts on Lunin's performance?
Yeah, Lunin has been one of the best players in the team this season, if I'm being honest, and you really just can't take him out at this time. He is such a special goalkeeper right now. I don't think there's much players better than him on form. So I would say, he's shown how important he is, and I would love just to see him continue, in my opinion, as a starter, regardless whether Courtois is back or not. What he's done this season is special. I mean, of course, if he plays in the final and he makes a mistake, people is going to say, when you have Courtois back, the best goalkeeper in the world, and he should have played. But I don't see it like that personally. I think that he should be one of the players playing for this team. Starting, in my opinion, he should be a starter regardless of anything. To finish the season, maybe next season, Courtois will be number one, but for the big games, Lunin should be the starter, definitely.
Yeah, I think maybe not the starter next year, but I think he should get more games. And I think at this point, Karen?
Yeah, so he should definitely get more games. Hopefully that he can at least end the season with at least 10 to 15 games next season.
Yeah, and I think at this point we are ride or die with Andrew Lunin. With whatever he does, I'm fully committed with him. I think I don't care if he makes a mistake in the final. We made a mistake last week against Bernardo Silva, but he made up for it this week by saving Bernardo Silva's penalty. That's revenge from him on Bernardo. So I was so happy with Andrew Lunin. He's almost emotionless. You can see him. He barely ever cracks a smile, and he is professional. He comes into training. He does his work. He makes sure he eats well. He does all this. And he never complains to Ancelotti about his game time, and he didn't leave. He wanted to stay and fight for his spot. And when Kepa came in, he had the second spot, and when Kepa got injured, he reclaimed his spot as the number two. And you know what? I think at this point We are ride or die with Andrew Lunin, and whatever mistakes he makes from now until the end of the season, I don't care. He's gonna be fantastic. He's made fantastic saves this season. He's kept clean sheets. He's gonna win the Zamora Trophy, and I think that's all I care about. So. Andrew Lunin is going to be our goalkeeper from now until the end of the season. I hope to God. So thank you for Andrew Lunin. Then let's talk about the draw, because we've been drawn against Bayern Munich. We'll obviously give you a proper preview when it comes close to the time. But what are your thoughts about Bayern Munich? Because for me, I think this is the fixture that I enjoy most in European competition. This the fixture I enjoyed, and it's been sad that we haven't had this for quite a few years. We've certainly had Bayern Munich's number over the last few years, but it's been a while. None of those players still play at Real Madrid or Bayern for that matter. Apart from a select few. So this is going to be a completely different fixture. Bayern are obviously somewhat in turmoil. Looks like they've recovered a little bit. They had a really good win against Arsenal, and they're definitely the ones to watch, because it's Bayern in the Champions League. They've still got that. I've still got that respect for Bayern Munich, because they're still one of the greatest teams to ever step foot in the Champions League. So what are your thoughts on the draw, and what are your thoughts on the prospects of playing Bayern Munich?
Yeah, I remember last year I told you that it wasn't. I would have really liked to play like another team. Not City, not Chelsea, maybe not even PSG. But I'm happy that we played City, so that we can get revenge on them, which we did. Of course, now we're playing Bayern Munich. And if I'm being honest, I would have preferred to play Arsenal over Bayern Munich, especially in the Champions League. If it's a one-off game, maybe some unnecessary competition on form, I would want to play Bayern Munich, but in the Champions League, they are one of the biggest teams, and you can never count them out. We can't take them lightly. They are such a big team, a big game team, and they can definitely beat you if you let your guard down. And Arsenal, one of the best teams in the world at this time, and this season not form, couldn't beat Bayern Munich. So of course I would have played in a Champions League game. I would have preferred to play Arsenal. Because they are not to be players that experience in situations like this. But Bayern Munich, a top team, Tuchel is a good coach, and they would want to win this competition because they just lost the league. We know how that goes sometimes with these players who have nothing else to fight for. So that's why I'm a bit concerned of it, but I believe that we should have enough to get over the line.
Yeah, I think at this point we shouldn't be scared of Bayern Munich because of the fact that we beat Manchester City, which is obviously a better team. But we still have to be wary. It's one of the best teams in Europe, one of the biggest teams in Europe, and in my opinion, in terms of just the Champions League, they're the second greatest team, actually third greatest behind AC Milan. But I think you've got to give them that respect. They've got fantastic players. Harry Kane's obviously going to cause us problems, but I trust Rodrygo. And obviously you look at players like Jamal Musiala, Kingsley Coman, Serge Gnabry scored in the first leg, which was a bit of a surprise considering his form. You've obviously got Kimmich, and you've got all these guys who are going to cause us problems. We've got to be wary. So if we go into this game thinking, we're obviously going to get into the final, it's a free ticket to the final. Look at them, they've lost to Bayer Leverkusen. If we think that, then we're going to go ahead and lose. So we need to be wary. We need to be careful. Bayern Munich have caused us problems in a season where we thought we would go and steamroll them in 2012, where we thought we'd go and beat Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich went and beat us, but rather in horrible fashion where we went out in penalties. So we've got to be careful. Bayern Munich is a difficult team, and then you should never take them lightly. So yeah, that is my thoughts on that. Apart from that, you're obviously not going to be here for the Barcelona preview tomorrow, which I'll do on my own. But could you give me your quick thoughts on the Barcelona game? In terms of what team we should try and put out, Barcelona's threat. In terms of the rest, all of that stuff. What are your thoughts on your quick thoughts on the Barcelona game?
But as you know, this is an important game because Barcelona can either cut the gap to 5 points or it can be 11 points. So it's a big, huge 6-pointer. We need to win this game or at least get a point out of this game to ensure that we can fully focus on Bayern Munich next week, so we can at least give players some of their strategies within the both legs. It's such an important fixture, Classico, but I think we need to put the best possible team to win this game, and the best possible team does mean put out your best starting 11. For example, we've seen a lot of times this season when Ancelotti has played his best team, but the best team wasn't the best team for the game because some were tired, some weren't best suited for the game. Like, for example, Dani Carvajal on tomorrow, if he's not at 100%, then Lucas Vazquez should start. That's what I'm seeing in some reports from the level that Vazquez might start. And I would much prefer play Lucas Vazquez, who is fresher, who's fitter at this time, over Dani Carvajal, who is, of course, still our best fullback. But you play Lucas because he's the best suited for this game. So that's what I think we should do. If players are tired, it doesn't make any sense starting them. They should come on at least, whether it's Vinicius, Rodrygo Bellingham. If you're not at 100%, not only does it make it difficult for you to contribute, but of course, we still have more Liga fixtures, we still have a Champions League to go after. I would much prefer, have them come off the bench and impact the game rather than we have to take them out forcefully due to injury or due to the fact that they are not at their best and they can't contribute anymore. So hopefully he gets to starting 11 night. Of course, we are not there in training to suggest to see how these players are. So I would really hope that Ancelotti and the staff does that. So for me, maximum, I think there will be maybe like 2 to 3 changes. I know that I'm seeing there's for that Lucas will start, so that there's one. Sure, many could come into the will likely come into the team. So that's 2. And maybe Modric might be in for Cruz. Maybe there might be some sort of adjustment, but we'd have to wait and see. But for me, this is an important game. Barcelona should not be underestimated here. Middle of the center, despite the loss to PSG, they were doing well before that, and even all the 10 men against PSG. I think for the past month they have been taking steps forward. We need to definitely give 100% in that game. That's why I'm saying with the fact that the fresh and quality players is important. I expect us to, still take initiative in that game with our players who are starting from the back, like Cruz and Modric, who are going to start between both of them. I expect them to definitely take the game and try and impact the game as much as possible. I expect us to win this game or at least draw this game. But in football, I think if I'm giving a prediction, I might say 1-1 or 2-1. Or maybe even but I do believe that this game looks all set for a draw, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I think if I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on Barcelona's mental state coming into this game? Because I'll answer this myself tomorrow. But what are your thoughts on how they'll be? Because there's been a bit of turmoil since the game at Montjuic in the midweek where they lost to PSG 4-1. You obviously Gundogan criticised Araujo's red card, and then Araujo fought back, and then Gundogan replied again, doubled down on it. So what are your thoughts on Barcelona's mental state? Do you reckon they'll be coming out to play, trying to go full throttle against us, trying to win, or do you reckon they'll be a bit shell shocked after the midweek game?
Yeah, I think we should be careful and not underestimating them or any team in general. It's quite difficult, to play these big matches after, especially coming off after a loss when you think that your season is over. It's quite difficult to play these big matches, but I'm sure that they will know that a win can send them back into at least give them a slight chance in winning the league. So they're going to come after it. But of course, if we get an early goal, that's the main thing. An early goal can definitely kill them. So that's why I believe we should have a fresh team that's going to start off a bit aggressive, because that early goal is going to definitely maybe knock them off a bit. But if it's they're leading, they'll have some confidence and they'll keep looking at. I believe an early goal or early dominance can definitely knock them off a bit.
Yeah, and some quick fire ones. Militao starts, yes or no?
not against him starting against Barcelona. Actually, he just said that he's an option. I think at some point in time he has to start. But for me, I will still say no. Maybe he can start against Sociedad on the Friday.
Yeah.
But for me, Nacho just had a good game. Let's see if he can have another good game. That means he's confident now. Let's see if he can have another good game alongside Rudiger. Maybe he can hold off Lewandowski, like he did with Haaland. So I would continue with Nacho in the back, in my opinion. Nacho and Rudiger in the back, that's just my opinion. I would like to see that being continued after the performance they showed. So for me, Militao, even though I wouldn't be against it, I would be upset if he starts. But for me, I would say no.
Yeah, and obviously you said yes to Lucas Vazquez in this game, and then Brahim Diaz, yes or no?
Brahim, you know what? He is the first player off the bench this season at least. So in the attacking line, I should say. Well, within midfield and Bellingham is playing, but for Vinicius and Rodrygo, he has become the first player off the bench and he plays Haaland, which is what we wanted at the start of the season, because it's what made most sense, because Haaland is more bench player who can come on if you need a goal. But if he should start, I would say, yeah, I have no issue with him starting. I'd actually prefer him starting over Militao, because if he starts over Vinicius or even Rodrygo, then one of them, they can always come on for him. Then he can. So technically, you still have other options on the bench and other weapons. So I'm not against him starting, especially if he's fresher and fitter. Like I said, those are the players that's going to be more important to me, rather than some players with quality. I'd much prefer 100% Diaz over 80% or 70% Vinicius, who had a little bit of a niggle at the end of the City game.
Yeah. So just one last question. How do you think the other side of the draws is panning out? But PSG versus Borussia Dortmund are going to be playing one of those sides, potentially in a final. What are your thoughts on that side of the draw?
The thing about it is that both teams, they're not at their best this season. Dortmund, I think, I haven't kept up with the Bundesliga table since Leverkusen won the league, and I think the main focus was on Leverkusen. But I think Dortmund, I haven't watched the actual Dortmund game this season, if I'm being honest. But I know that they're struggling to get into Champions League spaces. And of course, PSG, I've seen PSG a few times, especially against Barcelona, where they struggle a bit. Their midfield was always a concern, but with Bettina, he has been really good this season. I believe that PSG are the favourites to beat Dortmund, because I believe that they have a better coach, and of course they have X Factor and Mbappe, and of course Dembele, who is playing well in the Champions League for the last 2 matches, to be specific. So I think they have a better coach who can maybe make something work on the day. But for me, I would want Dortmund to win. Because, of course, I think Dortmund will be the easier team in the final, if we make it in the final. And of course, I prefer Borussia Dortmund as a club than as Saint-Germain, if I'm being honest. So I would say I hope that Dortmund wins. And of course, it's just better for football that Dortmund wins. If Madrid don't win the Champions League, I would prefer to be Dortmund out of the teams that's available now. I'll put it that way. So, they are a good team. I would like to see Bellingham versus Dortmund in the final, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't want to see PSG win the Champions League anytime soon. So for me, I would say Dortmund. I would want Dortmund to win, but PSG are the favourites, of course.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think PSG have had their problems this season. I think Luis Enrique had a lot of problems first leg against Barcelona, and up until the red card, they had plenty of problems themselves. So I wouldn't trust them to beat Dortmund. But Dortmund themselves haven't been great this season, like you said. I think they've been 4th best team in the Bundesliga, maybe 5th at points as well, behind Leverkusen, Bayern and Stuttgart have all been better than them, potentially Leipzig as well. So Dortmund haven't been fantastic themselves, but in the Champions League they've been really great, and I thought they were fantastic against Atleti. They really created a lot of chances, and first in the group stage, if you recall, they did top that group with Dortmund, with PSG, with Milan and Newcastle in it. So, I wouldn't rule them out. I think they've got a chance. They've got every chance of getting away. But I would want to see PSG in the final, because I do want to end. I want Real Madrid to be the team that ends the Qatar project. I want us to be the team that beats up PSG, then takes their goal with Mbappe. So yeah, that's what I think about that. But yeah, that is it for today. Obviously a fantastic result against Manchester City. And we obviously advanced to the semi-finals against a potential European classic for the ages against Bayern Munich, like it always is. Elsewhere, we did see Barcelona and Atleti both lose, which was great to see. And obviously, Sean's given you his Barcelona preview, little Barcelona preview. There will be another podcast tomorrow from me on my own, where I'll be giving you the full El Clasico preview. But that is it for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.